we're very excited, guys. As we wait a little bit for people to come in, I will say this is possibly the most exciting product release that we've had in a long time, just because we have to show attendance. Oh, by the end of the webinar, we will put a QR code, and even if the webinar goes a little bit over, we'll still put it at 2 p.m. or 5 minutes to 2 p.m. We're going to put the QR code if you want to sign in on the product. So no need to prove attendance, just be here then. You can even drop out and come back in if you want to cheat, but I really think
and this time I actually got a link as well, so we can share it in the chat. I learned from last time, not everybody's got a phone handy, believe it or not.
And while we wait one more minute, the reason that I am such a pain that I want people to hear the webinar in order to get on the product or talk to their account manager is because this, and you'll see as we talk about this, I believe that this product is much more valuable if you are aware of what it's doing, because a lot of it is now you have to talk to your agents in a different way. You have a different way to talk about the leads that you're giving. And so just signing you up without you really knowing, or it's not great. I want you engaged and understanding what we're doing. And so I just feel that for this product to really get you the value it needs, I need your engagement with it. I need you to know what it's doing so that you can change or double down on your calling practices because of it.
I love it. We have some AI assistants on the call as well, which is cool. That's the first time I've seen that, where there's actually AIs joining as attendees.
Okay, I think we have quorum. Jeff, I'd say that we kick it off. Do you want to kick it off?
Sure do. Let me get screen shared here.
Oh, wait, Lisa raised her hand, which made me think of something.
Oh, yeah, Q&A.
Lisa, tell me what it is, and then I'm going to say something. Well, so you see that you have two functionalities, right? You can write on the chat, but you can also write in the questions and answers, right? And while Jeff is speaking, I'm going to be looking at the questions and answers, and while I'm speaking, Jeff is going to be looking at them. So that's the best way to get your questions answered. Now, we have 60 people, so it could get a little crowded in the Q&A. We'll try to get through as many of them as we can. We'll try to bundle them and answer things that everyone is asking. At the end of the webinar, we're going to have to finish at 2. I'm going to have 5 more minutes for questions after that too, so we'll try to address a few more at the end. But feel free to ask questions all through this. We want to be as transparent and responsive on all of this as we can. So please feel free to ask us. We'll do our best to get to all of them. And if not, we might, after the fact, send some more stuff. But yeah.
Let's get rolling. We're going to do our best to stay on time and make sure that we are finishing up, getting you guys out of here by 2 o'clock and getting that code to you so you can sign up for RealVerified as soon as possible. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to start out, just do a quick overview of how CINC Lead Gen works, then talk about why we did this thing called RealVerified Leads and how it works. And then Alvaro is going to do a dive into the importance of maximizing your ROI through your ad spend. And then, as we mentioned, we'll be providing that QR code and link at the end. So how CINC Lead Gen works. Interesting, like this is still a question that comes up even from clients who've been with CINC for a while, because we are different than your typical third-party lead provider. We're not generating leads and then selling you leads for you to go work. What we're doing is giving you a solution which generates traffic to your website and then engages that traffic over time to help that lead stay engaged over the long term with your business. And so the key steps here is when you're providing ad budget to CINC, that ad budget is being used to pay for these pay-per-click ads. So this is an example with Google, and this is a real search I did where I looked at our local high school. So I searched for homes for sale near Milton High School, and lo and behold, the very first ad, very first results on the page is a CINC ad for a client, which says Milton High School home search. And so that's where the ad spend is going to fund these ads, which are paid for every time a user on Google clicks on that ad and goes to your website. And so the goal from the client marketing team is to help get you the best cost per click for ad while still balancing out, making sure that they're high intent, they're in targeted areas so that they're a likely prospect for you as well. And so, of course, what happens then is when they click on that ad, they're going to land on your website. And so on your website, they'll see the registration wall as soon as they click on a property, and that's where they're asked to register. So at this point, whether they register or not, that traffic has been paid for. And that's why we have to strike a balance of how much do we ask a user to do at this stage? Because the more barriers we put in front of registration, the less likely that person is going to register. And it's important that we're generating these registrations because if we look at the real success from the platform comes from repeat visitors. About half the traffic that we're generating every month is coming from folks who are coming back to your websites from things like listing alerts and all the other tools that we provide. And that's what keeps these leads engaged in the long term. So it's not just a lead, it's a live conversation that you're having over time with these leads as they continue to look at listings and then eventually get to the point where they raise their hand and say they're interested in a property.
And so, Jeff, sorry to interrupt. As I always tell you guys, that's why CINC for me is so special, because any website or any provider can give you a website that will capture some leads. What we specialize is in having a website that's so good that people will choose to continue to use your website instead of using Zillow. And so when you get a lead from CINC, then all of that information that you get after of what are they doing, everyone will tell you, yes, you can see what they're doing. That's only valuable if you have a cool website that people really want to use. And until now, it was difficult to prove to you how much more valuable our website is than the other ones in the market. We could tell you there's repeat visitors and everything, but that's why we're excited about this product, because it actually gives you a tangible result out of having the best website in the market.
Yeah, so this sets the stage for kind of understanding more about why we did RealVerified and how it works. So a question that might come up is, well, how come we don't just force people to give us a good phone number at the onset? And so we track today what percentage of leads provide a contactable phone number. And so historically, what we found is about 88.6% provide a number which can be contacted. And that's what that green check mark is that you see today in your CINC CRM. But it doesn't necessarily mean that phone number belongs to that person. It just means that they provided a phone number which can be contacted. And then the 12.5% are registering with an invalid number. And that's where you see that orange exclamation point, which indicates that phone number is likely not contactable at all. And so why don't we just block leads that have invalid phone numbers? And this is the dance that we have to play with registration, because if you block somebody at that point and say, oh, you can't register, then we've lost them. We lost them forever. And again, that traffic's already paid for. So it's not like it's going to generate you more leads or a lower cost per lead. And in fact, we do find many cases where leads that provide an invalid phone number at the beginning end up building trust over time and then converting to an appointment at some later time. So this was an example that was posted on our Facebook page of a lead that registered, that used a fake number, but a real email. And then they replied to the initial email that CINC sent, and they gave a phone number after that conversation started. So that's a great thing that happens, because it suggests that, hey, trust can be built over time. They learn to see that you're providing a valuable service, and then they are willing to give you that information. So our challenge was we still want to do better without scaring people away. So we want to get more contactable numbers without making it so that it's a barrier that people don't end up using your website. And that's what really set the stage for RealVerified Leads. And so here's how it works. So if you haven't seen it yet, after somebody registers, so they've already gone through that step where they provide their name, email address, and phone number, we instantly send a 4-digit code to the phone number that they provide to us. And what they need to do on this next step in registration is enter that 4-digit code that we texted them to verify the account. So they have a choice here that they can go forward, entering the code and verifying their account and getting full access to your website, or they could proceed and say, no thanks, I want limited access. And then they will still be a registered user. So we're not throwing them away, but we're going to create some limitations for them so that they're motivated to come back and give us an updated phone number and correct it if it was wrong, or verify it even if it was correct. And so that's what we're trying to do here is provide a pathway that generates assurance of which leads have a phone number which we know for 100% belong to that lead, without and keeping those folks engaged as well. And so here's what happens if they said, no thanks, I want limited access. What we found to be most effective, we've spent months testing different experiences on this and determining, okay, what is the limited experience that we can provide that keeps folks engaged, doesn't scare them away, but also motivates them to verify and correct their phone number if they provided an incorrect one. And this is the experience which works the best, which is that when they open up the photo gallery, we just show them the first 3 photos. And if they're not verified, they need to go ahead and send a code again and verify themselves in order to reveal the rest of the photos in the photo gallery. And then on the CRM side, you have insights into which of these leads have verified and which haven't. So the blue check here shows you if a lead has verified the phone number. So when you see that blue check, it means 100% that lead had their phone in hand when they were registering, they got the code, and they entered the code into the registration. So there is no question at all that is a valid phone number, it's a contactable phone number, and it is a phone number which belongs to that person who registered. And that's the big difference here. You can have full confidence that this is a phone number which will reach that lead for the first time.
A quick question, Jeff. I think I know the answer. If someone actually verifies with the real phone number and then comes later and changes it, they can still use the website, right?
Yeah, because once they're verified, unless you choose to lock them, they retain access, but you have full visibility into that. So if somebody gives you the correct phone number in order to verify and then changes it, it creates a note in your CRM. So if you see this switch to an invalid number because they changed it, you can look and see what number did they register with.
And I would say you don't need to do that. Vondel, if someone takes that much effort to use your website, just make them happy. Let them use it, right? If they're going to cheat all the way, look at the effort that they're going to use your website. That's how valuable your website is to them. Just let them, because one day when they want to contact someone, they're going to come to you. Those are the leads that close 400 days after they register. But it's awesome that they went through all that effort just to have access to your website.
Yeah, and I've seen it happen, but it's definitely a 1% type of scenario. There's hundreds and hundreds that once they put in a phone number at registration or correct their phone number, they're not going back and changing it. So
just before you go to the next slide, I put it in the chat, but I'd love to ask people, you've just seen what this is, right? People need to two-factor authenticate just as if they were approving a wire transfer from their bank. I want you to guess what percentage of people actually will do that. What percentage of your leads do you think will have that blue check mark just before Jeff goes into the next one? Put it in the chat, give it your best shot.
And we should do a poll. Have a poll ready for this.
That's if we were better organized, but we're not. Wow, you're all more optimistic than me. I said 25% when we started this process. Okay.
What are some of the numbers, Alvaro? I can't see the chat room.
Yeah, there's everything. We started with 33, which was what I would have said. Then Vondel is very optimistic, 90%, 80, 70, 40, 35, 50, 40, 60, 63, 78. We have everything. Jonathan at 20%, that wouldn't be unreasonable. This is a very tough thing that we're asking for people to do, right? That's why I am very impressed with what Jeff is going to show next. And I don't know where we're in the presentation, so I might be
almost there. Almost there. Yeah, we're about there. The one other feature I want to call out here is that you also have control of which leads are verified and unlocked and which are locked. And so there are going to be situations that perhaps somebody, just because they don't verify doesn't mean that the phone number is not a real phone number for them. So you might have cases where they did not take the verification step. You call them, maybe it's a landline, you call them, you reach them, and they were locked because they didn't verify. You go ahead and unlock them when you call them and you have a conversation with them. And that tells you, as you're going back through your leads, you always know which of your leads you've verified the phone number belongs to them, either through the system doing the verification up front when the user verifies, or you have had a conversation with them and moved them to verified status. You can also move leads into locked status as well. And one of the things that we're doing when we activate a user on the feature is we're locking past leads that had invalid phone numbers, knowing that they're not contactable. So hoping that that is a motivation for some of those if they're coming back to the website to verify when they return.
Yeah. So the question on landlines comes a lot. Look, the truth is we do require, they need to have a cell phone to do this. As we said, you do have the ability to unlock them yourself. So if you see someone that is not being able to register, you should still be calling them, which is something we will say today. When you get in contact with them and you see that they're real people, you can just unlock them.
And so the balance here again was, can we verify these numbers and improve your lead quality without sacrificing engagement? And that's really what we were testing for a long time, because we wanted to strike that balance where we get them to take this action, but we don't do it at the cost of then people don't want to use the website if they didn't verify, and you end up seeing a drop in property inquiries or showing requests. First off, here's the number that Alvaro was teasing, which is that in our testing, we found that over 60% of leads are verifying their phone number themselves. And so that means that either through registration or later on in the photo gallery, they are going through that two-factor authentication process. And since we've launched it, we've seen that number actually trending even higher to about 2/3 of leads are being verified. And so it's a beautiful thing. I love it when I see in a client CRM just a big sea of blue checks, knowing that means that when the agent is calling those leads, they have 100% confidence that they're calling the right number for the right person. And then the other big factor here is we're getting the folks to verify, but we are getting a significant number of leads also to correct phone numbers. If they entered a bad phone number on that first step because they're like, I don't know, I don't trust this site yet, but then they go through it, they get to the listing details, they see, hey, this is a beautiful site, it's a beautiful property, I really want to see the rest of the photos. Then they're making corrections, and we're seeing more than 10% of the leads who are verifying are doing it by correcting a bad phone number that they gave. So we are seeing a big lift in those valid phone numbers and contactable phone numbers coming through the experience, which we're very excited about.
So a couple of comments here. The first one I'll say, it's really great to be able to say this because I usually don't say it. To the questions of, is this available in Canada? It's absolutely available in Canada from day one. It's awesome. I really always suffer when Canada comes like a month or two after. It's fully available, so we can sign you up, all of our Canadian friends. And I will say, like, both of these stats have blew me away. I've always been saying we have the best website in the market. Our leads just engage better. And now I have some, like, somewhere, although we're the only ones doing this, there's no world where there's no competitors doing this in the next couple of months. They're going to be rushing to try to catch up with us. But the big problem is just their websites are not good enough for people to go to these lengths to actually prove who they are to you. These people are giving you so much of their trust, even if they don't want to talk to you. And we'll say this a couple of times in this webinar. If you think that the fact that they authenticated means that when you call, they're going to say, oh, yes, thank you for calling me, you're dead wrong. They're still going to tell you, what? No, I've never, what are you talking about? Less, because people don't like to outright lie when it's obvious to them that people know that they're lying. So I think you'll get less from that, but that it is still your job to get them to engage with you. It is still your job to gain their trust. What this does is it makes it that they've given physical proof of the trust and value that they put on your website, to the degree that they're able to guarantee you that this is their phone number. And anyway, I'll come back to this. But these two numbers, the one on the left, it's unbelievable. 2 out of 3 leads are giving you two-factor authentication. And the one on the right actually makes the leads better. You have a 10% of these leads that are authenticated that used to give you a bad number, and now they give you a better number, the right number. And that is just awesome, because it's like your cost per lead just went down by 10% overnight. So again, this I was blown away, and it is absolutely the merit of this amazing product team that Jeff leads, that has been hammering at this for months and months, quarters and quarters, to get it to a point. Because again, there is always a trade-off, and we'll talk about the trade-off, because the people that don't get certified, that don't authenticate, are going to get a blocked solution. And so we're losing a little bit on those. But if we're winning so much on this 66%, it's absolutely worth it. If this number was 20%, we wouldn't be rolling out the product, right?
Okay.
So we're very excited about this.
Yeah, and so on that question of engagement, there's always going to be a trade. Whenever you are more stringent up front and require more for somebody to do, there's going to be a cost in terms of some users will get turned off and won't stick around. And so that's really what we were measuring. And we found a really nice balance here where there is some drop in listing views. So after watching and recording hundreds of thousands of sessions with this, we found a 7% drop in listing views. And keep in mind, if you have 40% of people or 33% of people who aren't verifying, that's not much of a drop in listing views, considering the number which didn't verify at the onset. But the really positive sign here was that we saw an actual lift in property inquiries. And as we looked at the different kinds of inquiries, we're seeing it's actually increasing, which demonstrates that those who are sticking around are your better traffic. We're losing some views from the traffic that was less likely to convert. We're actually getting more engagement from the leads that go through two-factor authentication. Maybe maybe it's increasing the trust factor, but they seem more likely to want to stick around, engage with listings, and then submit inquiries once they've gone through that 2FA process. All right, on to the next part. I'm going to turn this over to Alvaro.
So
chat.
Let me see the time. I spent 2 minutes answering a few questions. Again, and we can go more on the pending. It's an old thing that some people don't like, that we set the search for pending, and clients do get frustrated with it. The short one, but this is something we could follow after the webinar, is we tried taking the pending out. People talk less with you. You want someone that is a little frustrated with you, but decided to talk to you about the property, than someone that, because they didn't see the property, are looking on Zillow. But again, I don't want to derail the webinar. That's something I'm happy to chat after, because it's something that we've been doing for some time. Going on the questions that I have on the Q&A part. So no, for now, we're not sharing the recording yet, because we are trying to do this where I want people to hear us live as we're rolling it out. But we will in the future. It's just we're taking our steps through this. As for the ones that are asking about ISAs and agent assistants, if they're using your platform, they have access to this, because they're seeing who has which leads have verified or not. Our recommendation is still that you should call every lead. And again, now you should call the verified first, and you also can change your scripts, because this is who they say they are, but we still think you should call all of the leads. So no, depending on how you work with your ISAs, and my thought is you don't need to change much. They just now have one more resource there. Okay, so I answered those. And Paul, remind me at the end that we follow up with you on that question. Okay, I know I'm pushing a little bit fast through things, but we have a lot of material. So here's why I think RealVerified is so important. And I'm going to tell you what it is and what it is not. So the main thing, and we're going to talk a little bit this later, is there's a lot of numbers going out in the industry, right? 2%, 5%, what is conversion? And a lot of people don't really know what they talk when, or what they're referencing when they do. I am very data oriented, as you, the ones of you that know me know. The truth is a good conversion with CINC is 1%. And one would say 1% doesn't sound that good. I'll make you a simple math for that. If you're paying $7 per lead and you're converting at 1%, it means you're paying $700 per sale. It means that every time that you sell a house, you had to buy 100 leads and you paid $7 for each. Now, if your average commission is $12,000 or $40,000, that means that you're making 20 times the money that you invest in that lead. And I know you'll tell me, well, but I'm also paying for the platform. We're going to go through all of that later. But the incremental value of buying one extra lead is wherever you are in the platform, you could spend $700 more, get 100 leads, and get one more closing. And that's absolutely an equation that works for you with one big caveat: if you have the bandwidth to work the leads. So you'll hear from me today a couple of times. I do think most of our clients are underspending. Again, this has nothing to do with CINC itself. It's your decision of how much you want to spend on lead generation. I believe most clients are underspending. All of you would give me $700 now if I gave you a closing. I know you would, because the closing is worth much more to you. And you have that possibility, but you might not have it as evident in your mind. Now, one of the big pushbacks against this is the leads don't really close at 1%, and I can show you data, we can talk, or my agents don't believe that they close like that. My agents think that all of these leads are bullshit. So even if I believe in it, even if I've been and I've seen your data, I have no real way of getting my agents committed on success and knowing that this will convert, right? This is exactly what I mean. And if you want to put the whole slide there, is people lie, right? You call them even though they just registered and they go, I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you? Who are you calling me from? I've never heard of this before. And that is tough. Your agents, cold calling is difficult, right? It's not cold calling, it's warm calling, but that's still going to be hard, right? And to face someone that tells them, why are you pestering me? I never asked to talk to you, is rough. And that makes them that they call less or they follow up less, right? Oh, they said that they want to talk to me, so I just either trash the lead or mark them as don't want to talk to anyone. The truth is, a lot of those leads end up converting. They don't want to talk to you now. That doesn't mean that they never will want to talk to you. And one big example that I give of this is I always give the example of Nordstrom, of the retail store, right? You go into Nordstrom, someone comes immediately to you and greets you at the door. And what do? You look down and you walk past them and you mumble something like, I'm just looking, right? Which is exactly what they do when you call them. They mumble, I'm just looking and I don't want to talk to you, right? Now that person will later look at stuff, and when they find something they like, they're going to come looking for someone to open the changing room for them. And that's the person that will get their commission. Now, trashing that lie, trashing that lead at the moment that they get into your site because they're saying, I don't want to talk to you, is the equivalent of as if Nordstrom's guy or girl got offended when you look down and say, I'm just looking, and run you out of the store. That's what you do when you negatively react to someone telling you, I don't want to talk to you now. So what we wanted is to give your agents real confidence that this person is really using your site, is finding value in your site to the level where they're willing to guarantee that this is their phone number. Now, if that makes you think that now they are going to immediately say, yes, I want to work with you, I'm sorry, this is not your product. We don't do magic, right? It is still, this is why you're good at your job, because you create trust in people. Now, what we're doing is giving you some lead in that they already trust your website and they find value in your website, which projects well on you. And then because we're being more demanding on those clients, now you have guarantees that they are who they say they are, right? They're giving you the truth in exchange for the value that you're presenting. But you are still required to go and earn that trust. And it will still be true that many times they will still not want to talk to you today. They may be explicit about it and say, yes, I love looking at your website, but I don't want to talk to you right now, in which case our script will tell, great, can I send you some houses in the meantime? You engage, you provide value, right? Or they might lie. They might still say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I never did anything that you're describing. Okay, cool. Don't get upset. Let them use your website. It's valuable to them. And so my hope is that that's why I require you to be here in order to activate this product. I could activate it for all of you immediately. I need you going to your agents and explaining, look, this is what the blue check mark means. And you need to have that confidence that you're calling someone that beyond any shadow of the doubt has, unless their kid went in and did it for them, someone was holding their phone when they signed up on your site. Does that make sense? Next. And so now, what is the downside? Everything has a downside. Why didn't we do this, even if it was only 10% of people that were going verified? Like you could say, Alvaro, why didn't you establish this even when you thought only 10% of people would go through it? Because the trade-off is, for all the people that don't authenticate, they're going to see less of the website, right? And we pride ourselves in the value that our website provides to your leads. And so why would we want to take that away from 90% of the people that are signing up? We wouldn't. But at this point, when we got to a 60, which is really, I won't put it in writing, but it's really a 66%, we're at 2 out of 3 leads. Then we're like, okay, we know that 10 or 15% of leads always were like either putting really bad numbers or really don't want to talk to them, so they were unattainable. So out of the 85, 66% are already going through all this. The value that you're gaining on the additional confirmation, and it's 2 ways. Your agents should be more confident looking. There is a psychological factor on the person. I've been giving you more, so I'm willing to give you more. I've already authenticated my number. I already have said that I trust your site. So the path to now talking to you is shorter, right? And we believe, and our data is showing, that your chances of connecting to those people are significantly higher once they committed to you in that way. In exchange for that, those 33% that are not authenticated will be a little bit less in the level of engagement. And that's a price that you need to pay. And again, the biggest risk here is twofold. Either that the one is people just engaging less with your site, the ones that are not authenticated, but we believe that we can show with data that's much less than what you're gaining on the other side. The other big risk is that your people only start calling the authenticated leads. And now, let me be clear, out of that 33% that is not authenticating, there's going to be conversion after that. So if I'm saying that you get a 1% conversion all in all, that's if you're calling all your leads. If you're only going to call the 66%, you're going to get 80% of the conversion. You're still going to get the major part because those are the leads that are going to convert the best, but you're going to be giving up money. So it is important that you don't allow your systems and your agents to just not call the other leads. Now, you may have different processes. You call the verified leads first, but you still should be calling them all.
All right. Just one question that's come up a couple of times is about how we're going to treat past leads in the platform. And so the way it works is when we activate you, we will lock previous leads that have invalid phone numbers. And so for previous leads that have numbers which have the green check, they were contactable, we're not locking those because we don't want to put barriers in the way of folks that probably have a good phone number. So it's only leads that were previously marked with bad phone numbers that are going to be locked going forward. And that's just, yeah, I guess that's any lead that had a bad phone number, no matter what the source was.
Yeah. Now, there is, and we're not doing it now, there is a world where we could lock everyone unless they authenticate. But I believe on the do no harm, right? And I'd rather make sure that I'm not hurting you guys in any way and I'm minimizing all risks. 6 months from now, once we're so sure with all of this, we may make it where some platforms can individually choose to do that in all leads. But for now, we're just doing it on the bad phone numbers for those that we know for a fact that they didn't give you a valid phone number.
All right.
So, sorry. So ignore the slide for a second. This is why at the beginning we said, look, when we rolled out this product, we required people to be at $700 instead. And a lot of people had a negative reaction to it, thinking, oh, you're just trying to get more money, which those that know how it works, that's not how it works. But I can understand people thinking, oh, you want to give the good leads to one, not to the other. It has nothing to do with that. Jeff explained at the beginning how our process works. And basically what it means is, I know that when you put RealVerified in, overall, you're going to be better off if you have enough number of leads. Now, if you have very few leads, I wouldn't put RealVerified in, because you need to be calling all your leads, irrespective of whether it's the right phone number or not. And I don't want you to lose a single lead. I don't think that this product will increase cost per lead in any material way, but it could. As we get better at targeting traffic that actually will verified, we're going to be willing to pay $1 more a lead if that will get that percentage to 80%, right? And if you don't want that trade-off, I don't want to force it on you. And so my main thought is, look, this is better. This product gets better the more than you're spending on the product in general. And also, in parallel, I have to acknowledge or accept that the fact is, I do think most clients are underspending on lead gen. And this is a way of trying to wake up everyone saying, look, this is a tough year. Last year was a tough year. But cutting on lead gen is the worst thing you can do. You should be going the other way, because you're getting 20 times your money on the extra spend. So let's look at that for a second. The app will show them, but not today. So there's two things that are still in work. One is the verified checkmark working on the app, and the second one is having a good filter to filter just by the verified ones. Those two, I don't know if we have a date, Jeff, but
yeah, we'll have them both by the end of next month.
Whoa, okay.
Coming up.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick, this is not specifically about RealVerifieds. This is about how lead gen works for you, and why I think that you should be, if you have the bandwidth to work the leads, that's a very big if that I'll say a couple of times, you should be spending more. Now, I'll start by saying, when I say 1%, it doesn't come from NAR article written 20 years ago that was written in the first place by just asking agents what they think, and no one knows what they're answering. This comes from looking at 10 million leads, looking at good clients, bad clients. And I can really say, I know, and whenever, if any of you have been in a direct call with me where I look over your account, the first thing I look is at your conversion, and I see whether you are in that. I want to see you over 0.75% in conversion. In between there and 1.5, I'm very happy with your account. If you are talking with me and you're in that range, you're going to hear me say you should be spending more money on lead gen, right? If you're under, you will not hear me say that, because I don't want you spending money if you're not getting the return for it. But this slide is just to show you that this is real data. And when I say 1%, I'm not making it up. Let's go to the next one. So now, an important factor, as we did this analysis in 10 million leads, is, of course, that takes time. That 1% happens after 3 years of calling relentlessly. Now, if you have been a client for 3 years or more, you should be at a 1% even when you measure it year by year, because you have the years of the leads of this year closing, and the ones of last year, and the ones of the year before. But it does mean that if this is your first year with CINC, we probably told you at sales, you're not going to close. So to give you, if you want to walk away with some clear numbers, if you are in a normal market and you're spending $500 a month in lead gen, my hope is that in that first year, you're going to close 2 deals, which hopefully will make up for the money that you spend and give you some change in return. But the interesting year is the second year, where you'll be closing 6 deals. And then the third year, you will be closing 8 deals. And from then on, if you're only going to spend 500, you're going to be closing 8 deals, which is a great return. But you could spend a little more and be closing 60 deals, right? But what this shows you is that even after all is said and done, 60% of the deals happen in the first year in which you made. So even if you didn't do any long-term follow-up, you should be able to get to a 0.6% by the end of year 2, where you had a whole year. So anyway, that's my first point, but let's keep going. And
It was interesting, Alvaro, on this. We just did an analysis. We asked that question of what their time frame is, now 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6, 6 to 12, and on the registration form. And exactly 60% of people, when they register, say their time frame is under 12 months. And so it actually matches this perfectly.
And now I see two answers, which makes me, I only said half of what I was saying. Yes, we do require 700 minimum, but we're waiving it for anyone that came into this webinar. I believe you should be spending $700 a month in ad spend in some combination of products. I believe that for anyone that is not a solo agent, and I believe it strongly and would be happy to argue it. That said, if by the end of this webinar I didn't convince you, you can get on RealVerified even if you're spending 500 or 400. We're not going to stop you. I will continue to argue with you that you should be spending more, but in the end, it's your choice. So just by being here today and putting up with my broken English, you get the benefit of being able to not do what I say. So why is 1% so good? We just did the math before. Give me the full slide. I always want to train my clients and think of cost per sale, cost per lead. How do you compare different cost per leads, right? You can get referrals for free from Zillow Flex, and because you don't pay anything up front. Yeah, but you're paying $5,000 at the end, right? So that's why I want you to compare cost per sale. And with CINC, what is my cost per sale? If you don't count the platform, which we can count later, the incremental cost of getting one extra sale is usually around 700. All of this is average, right? Please know, like the commission is average. I'm talking about generic numbers. I know every case is separate. But an average lead of $7 means that you're paying $700 for 100 leads that will lead you to one sale. And if you're making a $14,000 commission, that's 20 times the money. Again, if I stand today, I cannot do this when it's not in person. I've done it in person. And I tell you, I'll give $14,000 to whoever runs here with $700 in their hand. There's going to be some people running, right? And you can, and you're not doing it. You're passing on this because you're not spending the extra money. Now, the only good reason of not spending more is I don't have the bandwidth to call. If I have too many leads, I cannot call them. I get it. Don't spend more. That's not my advice for you, right? But if you're getting 20 times your money here, that means you should be putting more in, which, by the way, makes the platform less expensive when you count it as a whole, and we'll go into that. But just incrementally, that's very good. Now, if we look, let's now talk. There is a platform, and it's an expensive platform that you need to pay. So I'm putting here two clients, right? One is they're both paying $1,400 for the platform, but one is spending $500 a month, and the other is spending $1,000 a month, right, in lead gen. In total, that means that the client on the left spent $23,000, and the client on the right spent $29,000. That's $6,000 more. And I know how that hurts on the monthly bill. And I know in a time like this, that's very rough, right? Because that's a hard cost that you're paying every month. The problem is many of you are not tracking very accurately how much you close, or even if you're tracking it, you're not keeping it top of mind. Between these two clients, and this is a typical client, not in their first year. So we're talking, this is really a third-year client. That's why it's 8 closings on the one on the left. If it's a second-year client, it would be 6 closings that I'm expecting from that year. But let's say this is a 3-year client. You're going to make, the guy on the left is going to make 8 closings, and the guy on the right is going to make 16 closings. And with the same conversion, the one on the right is not a better agent, team leader, anything. What it is they spend more on lead gen, and they have a team that is enough to run with that lead gen, and we can talk about that. But think about the massive difference here. It's $6,000, your difference in your bill from 23 to 29, but your expected income goes from 120,000 to 240,000. So a 25% increase in your spend gives you 100% more on your return, precisely because you're not paying for another platform, right? You're just increasing the ad spend. And so I'm going to say it in a different way to try to solidify this concept, which is, let's say that you're walking into your second year at CINC. If you did 2 closings on the first year. So your conversion is coming strong. Now it's only a matter of time for those 6 closings to kick in on second year. You've been spending $500 every month. You are very correctly expecting six closings on year 2, and you should expect 8 closings on year 3. Time will help you there because you're doing your follow-up correctly. But if you moved today from $500 to $750, if you put $250 more a month, which is $3,000 a year, you're going to move your closings of this year from 6 to 9. That's 3 extra closings. And so even if I'm wrong and you only get 2 extra closings, you made your money many times. And this is my most difficult thing in this company and my biggest failure as a CEO, which is I see clients that in tough times cut back on spend, and then their revenue cuts back proportionally. And I go like, how in a tough time did you let go of that revenue? And so again, if some think that this is something to do with trying to get more money to go through CINC, you can believe that. Those that know me know that's not how I think. I want you as a client, and I want a client as a client forever. And I want you on our platform, right? But my way of getting you in that platform and keeping you in that platform is you closing business. And that's why a lot of you get upset when I don't want to change the pendings on how we do the search, or when I don't let you put an extra widget on the website. And my sales team hates me when I say that my job is not to make clients happy. My job is to make clients money. Because if you're making money, you're going to be a client for a long time. And this is, for me, the biggest piece of advice that I can give you today. Now, if you're not converting, so if you're on second year and you think that you're not on track for 6 deals, or you're in the first year and you didn't even get to your first deal, ignore everything I'm saying, right? Or if you're in your third and beyond year and you're not closing 8 deals, you're closing 4, right? Ignore me. This is not for you. We need to have a conversation with you. You need to call us in. We need to talk with your account manager and see what we need to do in order for you to get your conversion up. I don't want you spending more if you're not converting at 0.7%, right? So if you're not on track to do 6 deals or 8 deals with your $500 this year a month, I don't want to convince you to spend more. But if you are, the best thing, you can try to get better in everything, which is the most difficult thing in the world, or you can spend a little more money and without getting better, make more money in return. You're doing better than you think. And that's my biggest message.
You might add, Alvaro, that we saw closing rates consistent last year as well.
100%. I was surprised by that. When we look at the countries, at both countries as a whole, the conversion remained overall for clients. It went from 0.8 to 0.75. So now that's not true in every market. I know my friends from Toronto are going to tell me, no, my conversion went down by 30%. I get it. And my friends in San Francisco and in Seattle will tell me the same thing. So this is not a rule, but as a whole, the North America, the conversions have remained strong. The biggest problem is a lot of clients put down spend and then lost a lot of money, even though their conversions remain strong. That's something that I am trying to fight against. Let me see. And this is something that, this is my last message on this, which is, if you've been with us since 2018 and you're spending the same amount that you spent in 2018, that makes no sense. Why? Because your income per closing has gone up by 35% just because prices have gone up, while our leads have only become 10% more expensive. That means that your dollar, it's the only thing in the US right now where you can say that your dollar goes farther today than it was in 2018. And by not increasing it, you're actually decreasing your share in it. You are spending, if you spend the same to put gas in your car today that you spent in 2018, you're driving half the miles. Do you want to drive half the miles on your platform? You don't. So lead gen has gotten better. CINC lead gen, the rest of the lead gen of the world has gone up by 30%. I can proudly say that we only have gone up by 10%, while your income per closing has gone up 35%. So again, if you're looking now at your platform, if you're going to talk with me in one of my, I talk with clients every week, and you show up and you're spending the same that you were spending in 2018, and you're asking me why you're not closing more, that's the first answer I will give you. Why are you spending less? Because if you're spending the same now, you're spending less. Because we all know that the dollar today is not what it was in 2018. And that's it, right? This is the best platform in the market. And so for me, if you're only spending $500 a month, you'll have a Lamborghini, but you're only putting like a quarter of the tank, right? And you only drive on the weekends. So look, I think if you have 1 or 2 buyer agents, if you have the bandwidth, if you have CINC AI turned on, if you have an ISA, if you have the ways of running those leads, you probably will be better off spending more. Now, if you're not converting, if you're not on track to convert 6 deals this year, then don't spend more. Then call your AM, let's have a conversation, and let's understand why you're not, unless you're a first year. If you're a first year, you need to get to your 2 deals. And if you get to your 2 deals this year, I promise you will get to 6 next year. But if you're second year or beyond, and you're not going to close 6 deals this year, then don't spend more. Call us, let's work on your conversion, let's get you better. If you are, though, if you are converting at close to a 1%, if you take your number of leads that you got in the last year and you divide it by 100, and you're in those closings or more, then I honestly believe you have, if you have the bandwidth, increase your ad spend somewhat. CINC is expensive, right? If you're not spending on lead gen, then you're wasting a little bit of what you're paying for. So the more that you spend on lead gen, the more juice you're getting out of your Lamborghini. Yes, there is a chance that activating RealVerified may put your cost per lead a little bit up. So if you don't want to run that risk, don't sign up for RealVerified. Okay. But I think it's a compelling reason of why you should sign up for RealVerified. I think you will be converting more. Most of everything, I think you will be able to engage with your agents more effectively as to how they should do follow-up. And then finally, yes, spending an extra $200 a month will give you 3 closings at the end of the year, right? If that math doesn't work for you, then don't do it. But it does work for me as long as you're A, converting, and B, you have bandwidth to handle the leads. So
All right. Why don't we put up the code and then we can answer the additional questions, make sure folks who might have a hard stop have a chance to do this.
Love it.
So here's the code. I'm going to put the link in the chat as well, so you don't need to type that out.
Awesome. So yes. So as we answer questions now, this is the code for you to get RealVerified. You don't need to be clear, no one asked it here, which means that we're not confused. You don't have to pay a platform fee. There's no extra platform or license for this. And in the case of the minimum required of total ad spend, we're waiving it for anyone that is putting in this code. So you don't need to be at 700. I think I've made an argument of why you should be, but you don't need to it. So if you want, you can just sign up. The only trade-off that I want you to be aware of is those that don't authenticate are going to be returning less to your site. You can still call them on everything, but that's a trade-off. And if this is going to make it that your team is only calling 60% of the leads instead of all the leads, then don't do it. So if you're going to do this and just let your people cherry pick, I don't recommend it. You should still have good follow-up for all of the leads, but it does allow you to focus very much on the ones that have given you actual proof that's their phone number. And now we can open for questions. What about leads that are already on the site that we already answered?
So again, leads on the site. If they only leads that had invalid phone numbers will be have locked content. So past leads that had valid phone numbers, they still have access to the site, full access to the site. And so just when folks that had an invalid number come back, they get to the photo gallery, they see it's locked, we're motivating them to verify.
Good chat. What's the origin story of CINC for us new folks? I'd love to tell that story, and I'll give the 1-minute version. That is, it started in 2011 as a way of really big teams that wanted, at the beginning, where it was mostly about distress leads, and then we just wanted to evolve it into being this one home where you can have all your business and run it. And I joined personally in 2015, and it's now been 8 years. So very happy for that. But I'm happy to say more about it. I'm just trying to get the chat. I'm not seeing the chat. Are you seeing it, Jeff? Because I don't, somehow I lost the window.
Yeah, I can still see it.
Anything to answer there?
Nothing new has come across.
Good. Will it update when they verify, if they verify later? Yes.
If they verify later, there's not a notification if they verify later. If they update their phone number, yeah, actually, you will get a notification that they update their phone number.
But if they
And
verify later, the check mark will appear, right? What you're saying is
yeah,
that they
yeah,
don't
the
get
check
a
mark
notification out of it.
will appear. So only, yeah. So for the leads that are the historical leads that we're locking, they would need to go ahead and update their phone number because they have an invalid one. So you will get notified when that happens.
Yeah.
There's an alert that you can set up when an account updates their phone number, and it also creates a note.
And a quick answer to bundle. I've never been a real estate agent. And when I joined in 2015, when I joined CINC in 2015, I was completely from outside of the industry. So I used to say that I was a newcomer. After 8 years now of working with clients and being very involved, I feel I'm starting to understand the industry, and hopefully I have more data than a lot of the people, but I've never been an agent. Solo agents and recommendations. So this is interesting. Again, if you're only spending $300 a month, which is what usually a solo agent spends, I still think RealVerified is in your favor, and I think you can activate it. But you can also, because you're only you and you don't need to convince any of your agents, and you know that the quality of the leads is good. Although the quality of the leads is improving for two reasons. One, because we have 10% of people that are actually changing their number, and two, because mentally they're more committed to you, and that helps you. But those 2 points aside, the leads are the same. So for people that believe that our leads are bogus, like this should be proof that they're wrong, but we're not changing the way that we're sourcing the leads yet. We may in the future make it better to target verified leads, but that's a different deal. So I guess as a solo agent, I don't feel that you need to put RealVerified on, because you knew that the leads are great, so you don't need the extra verification, and you're going to call all your leads because you don't have that many leads, right? That said, if you're a solo agent and you're spending more, or if you really don't have a lot of time and you want to make sure that the ones you're calling are the ones that they say they are, then you can put it up. We're waiving all constraints into going into this product. So if you go to the link, we'll sign you up.
Yeah, you can benefit, I think, from some phone number corrections, which would be beneficial. But also, this is a feature which we can easily activate or deactivate as well. So if you had any reason where you wanted to deactivate the feature, that's not a problem.
Is there a cap on spend of solo agents? And there is. I'd say talk to your account manager. I'm allowing solo agents to go a little bit over the cap right now because I do think that in these times they should be spending more. My pitch would be, I think you need to move into a ramp. It's not that much more money and you get all the functionality, but my intention today, even though it sounds like it, is not to pitch CINC in any way. Yes, Bessie, if you call your AM and you say that you would like to spend a little more, even though you're at the cap, if you are at the cap, I think we'll make some exceptions. So again, we want you successful. At least I would consider going into a ramp. I know it feels like more money, the extra $200. You should make many times more money in return, but I won't. I said I wouldn't pitch, so I won't. But yes, call and we'll see. Happy to move it a little bit for you.
And ramp is just that next level platform. So we have 3 levels of platform: solo, ramp, and pro.
Jeff, can you put the link again? Maybe it got lost as people talked in the chat. Someone was asking there. I'm going to put it again. Oh, that's ramp. Yeah, it's the second level product. And I really believe a solo client, I believe the solo is for when you're really at the beginning and you're alone. Once you have an admin and you're a solo that is going to want to do 50 transactions a year or 35 transactions a year, I would put yourself on a ramp. Again, the cost seems a lot, but it's negligible next to the revenue. We have that. I think we've answered everything. And yes, bundle. Yes, and that's when I joined CINC as an executive back then in 2015. I was never a client. And yes, you can and this last question of why you're a pro as a solo agent. I honestly, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, if I was a solo agent, I would be on a pro platform. Could you pay less and be on a solo? Yes, but I would spend more, get the extra revenue, get the extra functionality. Oh wow, that's okay, Vandal. We'll talk after this. But again, there is the different layers. You can choose the tier. I'll make my argument that Pro is still the best option, and you can make. I really believe that we focus a lot of these discussions on cost, which ends up all the cost difference is one transaction. So again, you move to solo, you constrain yourself, you remove you reduce ad spend, you saved some money, great. If you lost one transaction, all that effort was for naught. But anyway, we can talk. I'm happy to connect one-on-one after. What for sure is you should have, you should know that there are different options. We try to be as open with everything that we have them online, so it's nothing that we hide in any way. Okay, so we're past time 2:02. If there's one last question, I'll answer it.
And yeah, as you're signing up, we are going to turn this list over to folks on our frontline team, and we will start activating you this afternoon. So we should have everybody activated within the next 24 hours.
And Pamela, as for talking after, this is very real. You guys have, unless you're in a solo platform, that's a limitation of the solo platform. Unless you're in a solo platform, you have your personalized account manager, right? Let them know that you're either signed up, that you're interested. Let them talk to you more about the product. If you want to talk to me personally, I'm available to all our clients. So if you tell your account manager, hey, I'd love to get Alvaro on a call with us so we can look at the platform, I'm here for you too. But one of the great privileges of being with CINC in a ramp or above platform is you have a dedicated account manager who's really a business advisor in all senses. Do please use it. And if you're interested in RealVerified, even if you're signing up on your own just here, still talk to your account manager. Let them know that you're doing it. There's so much value for you at the platform there. And I see someone that's there moved to solo. One of the big differences if you move to solo is you do not have a dedicated account manager anymore. We cannot afford it, right? This is not because we're mean, we're not trying to do anything. Is we believe that the best service in this industry comes from having a dedicated account manager. That's why I push people. I don't believe that the solo platform is great because at Ramp already you're getting your manager. But anyway, we can talk all of that one-on-one. Again, all of our options are accessible to you, and we're happy to explore them with you. Okay, yes, and we sign you up. It will immediately start showing up. This is going to be very quick. So just sign up and let us know.
Yep, you'll start seeing the check marks show up next to leads or the locks in your CRM immediately.
Yeah. And I will answer the basic question. I think I don't know out of memory, but the difference is like $200 a month. I know it sounds like a lot. If you lose one deal out of moving to lower functionality, you've shot yourself in the foot. But again, if you talk to your account manager, you can ask all these questions on pricing, on the different options. All of this is available to you. Everything we do is available to you and hopefully for your benefit. So I really appreciate all of you being here today. I am very excited about this product. I think what it does the most is it will give you tangible proof for your agents of how valuable your site is to your leads. And that will lead to better conversations. That will lead to better follow-up and ultimately more conversions. I'm excited about having this webinar a year from now and being able to quote our overall conversion when all is said and done going up by a point or two, right? If I can move all of our collective clients and family here from 0.8 to 0.9, I've done massive value addition to you. And so I really admire what Jeff and the product team have done here, the level of research that went into this product. There's so many ways where this product could have been a nothing burger if we were not at the level that we are. So it's not just this product. This product can only be this successful because of the amazing website we've been developing for all these years. And I appreciate you all for being part of our family and for being clients. And I hope this is a new tool for you all to be successful. and I look forward to talking to you more. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.